Let's do a few more examples of finding some reference numbers. So we'll find the reference number for negative 9 pi over 8, pi over 16, and 13 pi over 8. We'll start with part A. So negative 9 pi over 8, that is not between 0 and 2 pi. In order to get something between 0 and 2 pi, I'll have to add 2 pi to it. So negative 9 pi over 8 plus 2 pi. 2 pi, I can get a common denominator by multiplying by 8 over 8. And so the numerator would be 16 pi and negative 9 plus 16. Well, let's write that out. Negative 9 pi over 8 plus 16 pi over 8. Negative 9 plus 16, that is 7. So this is 7 pi over 8. So I can just work with 7 pi over 8. And you can check to see that 7 pi over 8 is in fact between 0 and 2 pi. So now I'm going to figure out what quadrant 7 pi over 8 is in. I see that 7 is a little bit smaller than 8, so that leads me to think that 7 pi over 8 is a little bit smaller than pi, and so I think it's in quadrant 2, but let's check. So pi over 2, how does that compare to 7 pi over 8? Well, I multiply by 4 over 4, and I get 4 pi over 8, so 7 pi over 8 is larger than pi over 2. And how does 7 pi over 8 compare to pi? Well, it's going to be less because if you get a common denominator, pi is the same thing as 8 pi over 8, and 7 pi is less than 8 pi. And so this is going to be in quadrant 2. Now I'll go ahead and draw my picture and write my equation. I strongly encourage you to draw a picture every time because it really builds intuition on the symmetries of the unit circle. So here's my sketch of an angle that's in quadrant 2, that's t. Then this here would be t prime, and I see that t, if I go around by t and then I go counterclockwise a little bit further by the reference number, I end up at the angle of pi. And so t prime is pi minus t. And so my reference angle would be pi minus 7 pi over 8, which is pi over 8. As an aside, if I call the reference angle the reference number, please excuse that. The reference number, if I ever say reference number, then I mean the reference angle. Now let's solve part B, where the value for t is pi over 16. Now pi over 16, you can check that is between 0 and pi over 2, and so the reference angle, t prime, is going to be pi over 16. For part C, we have 13 pi over 8. Let's see if this is between 0 and 2 pi, and see if we have to subtract 2 pi from it. So how does this compare to 2 pi? Well, we'll multiply by 8 over 8, and 2 pi is the same as 16 pi over 8. And so 13 pi over 8 is less than 16 pi over 8. So we don't have to add or subtract 2 pi. Now let's find out what quadrant this is in. Now 13 pi over 8, one shortcut you can take is, since 13 is bigger than 8, 13 pi over 8 is going to be larger than pi. So we definitely know that it's in quadrant 3 or quadrant 4. Now, is it in quadrant 4? Well, how does 13 pi over 8 compare to 3 pi over 2? In order to get a common denominator, we'll multiply this by 4 over 4, and we get that this is 12 pi over 8. And so 13 pi over 8 is larger than 12 pi over 8, so this is in quadrant 4. So we can draw a picture of what angles look like in quadrant 4. So there's t. If you go counterclockwise a bit more by the reference angle, then where do you end up? You end up at the angle of 2 pi. And so t plus t pi, or excuse me, t prime, not t pi, is 2 pi. And so the reference angle is 2 pi minus 13 pi over 8. And getting a common denominator, 2 pi would be the same as 16 pi over 8. So this is going to be 3 pi divided by 8.